Hey, what's up, guys? I know this is kind of old, right? It's 6 days ago, then the original 10 days ago. But I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I definitely have to give my opinion on this because it is a bit different from most people. I think it is a bit different than Star Wars Theory's opinion, and I'm a George Lucas purist like him. So I feel like I'm even more of a George Lucas purist because I don't consider the expanded universe canon. So I don't consider Legends canon. I even have a hard time considering the Clone Wars canon. Rebels is not canon to me because I was under Disney. Clone Wars, yeah, it was under George, but there are certain decisions that Dave Filoni made that George didn't agree with. I talked about that earlier, but for now, let's check this out. George Lucas coming back to Star Wars. Is this really a good thing or is this a bad thing? Let's check this out.
They're now bringing him into the fold.
Let me
From
move
what
myself
I
up here real
hear,
quick.
because there's a Star Wars live action series coming, and I've got a strong suspicion that George will have something to do with that.
I feel like Roger's being very careful with his words or something. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I don't even know if he knows what he's talking about, to be honest, dude. Is he really in the loop still? I don't know. I don't see George coming back.
At this moment, dude, I was just like, I literally thought I was in a dream. I was like,
My thinking is, and I might be prophesying,
are you
but
pulling my leg?
No. That's what I had heard and read, and I don't know from anything apart from I'm prophesizing that might happen because you've seen he's been very physically
Involved.
present there. He's been down on the sets and everything.
Yeah.
And Dave Filoni has done such an incredible job of being George and bringing back everything that George.
On occasion.
I always say, and Dave gets a lot of flack just as George did, but he is the only sort of the closest thing we have to George there.
He is.
Yeah, okay, yeah. See, that's the thing, dude. He's the closest thing we have to George there, but that doesn't mean everything George does. That doesn't mean everything Dave does is automatically amazing just because he's the closest thing. He's the closest thing, but he's not George, you know? Like, look at Ahsoka, dude. I don't understand how Ahsoka turned out the way Ahsoka did, the live action show. How did he just came off Tales of the Jedi. And he did Ahsoka. Yeah, the Anakin Skywalker scenes were awesome, but I put that a lot on Hayden Christensen because if you look at Rosario Dawson could pull off a perfect Ahsoka, but she didn't. A lot of the characters in that show felt real stiff. She felt really stiff in particular. But Anakin felt like Anakin because Hayden Christensen knew the character. He moved like him still, you know? So I feel like Anakin was so good because of Hayden Christensen's respect for the character. I don't know if that really came from Dave, man. I don't know. Maybe he's just not he's not acclimated to directing live action just yet. But I don't know, dude. Maybe it's Disney. Maybe it's Lucasfilm.
I think Jon Favreau does a good job too. I don't know.
Yeah, he does.
So right there.
See, that's the other thing, dude. Jon Favreau does a good job. But what about Mandalorian season 3? That was trash. You know, we're going completely off topic with with this video, but how much are we to blame the directors and creatives involved, and how much are we to blame the execs and Lucasfilm and Disney? You know, because how did Jon Favreau do Mando season 1 and 2 and then do season 3? It's a complete departure. You know, it doesn't make any sense. So are we getting some meddling from the top down, you know?
Roger says that from what he's heard, he's friends with George. He's the OG. I love interviewing these OG guys because not enough people give them the
that's really cool
fame that they deserve today.
If you guys
not that I can grant,
you guys should definitely check out, if you have Disney Plus, check out the ILM docu-series. That's really cool, man. That's really cool.
But
I'd love to work at ILM back then, man. That would have been awesome.
This guy actually created the very beginning of everything that we've come to love. And if anyone's going to know anything, it's going to be Roger Christian. So George coming back, I've seen a lot of already flack about this online. First of all, if you're against George Lucas coming back to Star Wars, I'm going to say it right here, and I've never said this. I've never given an ultimatum like this. I don't really think you're a Star Wars fan. If you don't...
All right. Here's where I got to disagree. Do I want George Lucas to come back to Star Wars under the conditions right now, the way things are right now? No, I don't think I do. Let me explain though. George, if he comes back to Star Wars under the Disney banner, do we really want the creator of this entire universe, the creator of these characters, the creator of Star Wars limited by the Empire, by the corporation? No, dude. Do you think George would come back and have to tell a story in Disney Star Wars canon? Do you really think he'd want to come back and be limited by a canon that he did not create, that he's not an advocate for? And even if he did, would you want that? Would you want him to have to tell a story within the confines that the sequel trilogy has created? Do you really want that? I don't. I don't want that. I don't want George to be put in that situation, man. If I'm a George Lucas purist and I'm saying I don't think I want him back under these conditions. I'm a George Lucas purist. I'm a Star Wars purist. If he comes back and everything is wiped away, we're starting episode 6 on, then yeah, all right, let's do it. I'd be the first person in line, okay? But if he's coming back under the Disney banner, the way things are now, I don't know. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. I feel like I don't think he should, dude. Like he's talked about the mindset. It's like a divorce. He's got to like put it out of his head. He's moved on. It's hard because it's his babies, Star Wars is his children. So it's hard to let go. But coming back now and then doing it under the terms of Disney, nah, forget that trash.
Like
Don't
George
come back.
Lucas, I don't think this is the place for you. This is not the channel for you. Move along now. If anyone's going to know anything, it's Roger Christian. And George coming back would be pretty insane. I think the moment that would be announced, if it's going to be announced, would be probably the biggest move that they could do
move this again
to bring a lot of interest back into Star Wars after drying it up. There are so many fans that have checked out because of the sequel trilogy, because of the Mandalorian season 3, because of the constant lack of vision in all the projects that they've been creating. It's so hit or miss, and mostly miss. We're going to be candid here, which I always am. If George were to come back, it would unite so many people just alone on that announcement. We don't know what he's going to create. We don't know what he's going to do. But judging here by what Roger said, when I asked him what was George going to do after episode 6, he said that George actually wanted to go all the way back to around the time the Force was created.
The wheels and all that stuff, right?
And what are they doing now?
Wait, I should stop talking.
All the way back to around the time the Force was created, essentially. And what are they doing now? They're creating Dawn of the Jedi, which is the...
All right, but the time the Force is created and Dawn of the Jedi are two very different things, because Dawn of the Jedi is the Dawn of the Jedi. The Force is already there, but now we've learned to manipulate it, tap into it, and then that's the Dawn of the Jedi. But the Force is already there. George wanted, according to what he's saying right now, George wanted to get into what is the Force? Where did the Force come from? How was the Force created? That's a question that precedes Dawn of the Jedi. But the premise of Dawn of the Jedi sounds really awesome. Do I trust Disney Star Wars to make an awesome movie? No, but it still piques my interest.
Force in its inception, sort of. The Jedi, the first Jedi, all this and that. Which have already been adapted into comics and legends. But we know that Disney's probably going to change that and do their own whatever they want to do. If they go with the Thoyor and all that and you get Legends guys, you guys know what I'm talking about. That'd be pretty cool. But I don't have my hopes set on that at all. If George were to return, the announcement itself would reband the entire Star Wars. Well, not the entire. There's still people that are going to be skeptical. Would reband a lot of Star Wars fans just on the premise that we know George Lucas he created everything, but also nobody can tell George what to do.
That's the thing, dude. They can, dude, because look at Mando season 3. Look at Ahsoka. It's hard for me to believe that came from Dave Favreau and John Filoni. John Favreau and Dave Filoni. It's hard for me to believe that. And George is a rebel, I don't see him listening to Disney. And so I don't see him putting himself in that situation where he has to. And if he has to tell a story within the confines of what Disney wants, I don't know about that. I mean, if he does go way back in time to the origin of the Force and the wheels and all that stuff, he's not really pinned down by the timeline that's been created. But then again, his vision, his story still has to go through somebody else because he's not top dog anymore.
There is no way in any multiverse that George will want to have to do something with a character that he writes or this way or that way. And Kathleen Kennedy or some executive will come in and say, no, George, I don't think that that's the way we should do this with this character. He's going to look at them and be like, I'm walking off, bro. And that was one of the main things that George Lucas wanted when he went
That's what I'm
to
saying.
sign
He'd walk off.
Lucasfilm to Disney.
He won't put up with
He
it.
wanted to sell it. He wanted to sell it, and they wanted full control of where the stories go. And Bob Iger had a major problem with that. And, rightfully so, I understand.
But
You
then
you
look
sell
what happened,
something,
man.
You can't still control it. It's not how it works. In this case, I think it should have been that way because he knows the story best. And I think that he could have instructed them on where the story should go, not necessarily having like all this control, but he tells them where it goes. And so for Bob to be like, hey, no, like you don't get control. I don't, I understand it from a business standpoint, but from a creative standpoint, which is what made the company so priceless to begin with, that's all George. That's all story. So if he were to come back, I mean, I can't even, that's a bigger announcement than like, Anakin and Obi-Wan coming back on a show.
Oh, yeah,
or
dude.
whatever.
Yeah.
That is the penultimate. That is the ultimate. That is the finale. That is the biggest thing that could happen.
No,
in Star
that's not
Wars.
the biggest thing. Biggest thing, he comes back and wipes out everything. If he comes back and has to work within the confines of Disney,
is if George were to be officially announced to be coming back on a project. I don't think there's any person that could meddle in what he's trying to do. Now, it also
they
depends
can,
on
and they
his
will.
overall position in what he's going to be given. So is he going to be,
You really think they're not going to meddle? He gave them blueprints to the sequel trilogy and they threw it in the trash. You really think they're not going to meddle? They're 100% going to meddle. 100% they're going to meddle.
just overseeing things? Is he going to be like stepping back and like watching? Because remember, in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, George didn't direct it. He just kind of chilled. Well, he didn't really chill. He was pretty hands-on still, even though he had other directors. But he was in the background, kind of checking over things, making sure everything is going as planned. And he had directors that were directing the films.
Yeah, he had so much. He had way too much other
and
stuff
made sure
to do.
everything was done the way he wanted. That's not to say he didn't have advisors. But in a lot of the making of books, George had a lot of advisors. He had a lot of, well, not a lot of advisors, but a lot of professionals that he worked with that were telling him what to do with the characters. Like, for example, like killing off Luke and this and that. And George was like, no, you don't do that. That alienates the audience. This is a story about hope. It's supposed to.
That's another reason why I have a trouble with, Clone Wars being canon. He wanted Ahsoka to die. Ahsoka's still alive.
Make you feel good. We don't need to kill people in order to make the story more impressive or more heavy. Make it have some gravitas. You don't need to do that. Alienates the audience, he said. I truly trust in George. I mean, my trust in Dave Filoni was like all-time high, and then I feel like with the last few episodes of Ahsoka, it kind of dipped a bit. I'm hoping that, that was just an anomaly, but anyways, I know the boys will probably disagree with that, Ryan and Mahler. I really hope George comes back. I really hope this nonsense about the fans against George Lucas, all that bull crap. I think that is just such nonsense, and it never should have been created anyway. And it damaged him
100%.
and his love for the franchise and his love for what he created, because he probably looked at it and said, well, I don't want to deal with this anyways. And we saw that once when he was on a podium, I think when Mark Hamill was getting his star in Hollywood, and he was speaking, and then the crowd said, George, we want you back. And he went like this, no, I'm done. And he turned around and he walked away. Like, this was just a few years ago. I think 6 years ago, something like that. This is probably the biggest news to hit Star Wars fandom. Whether it's true or not, I mean, this is not like some random YouTuber saying this or reading it off some
Yeah, but I don't know how
shit
true this is, man. I don't see this really happening, to be honest.
This is Roger Christian, a personal friend of George, the man who created the lightsaber, directed episode 1. Alien. I mean, he's done so many different things and has so many accolades and is so credible that if he says he heard something, I believe it. So let's hope things don't change. Let's hope George doesn't change his mind.
I don't believe it yet.
Hope, things go out the way they will, and that George will be granted. It sounds so stupid. George will be granted a story of his own creation that he sold.
All right, man, that's it for this one. What do you guys think? Do you think George Lucas is actually going to come back? And if he does come back, do you think that's good? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a good idea, man? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you guys think about this? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.